The largest companies in the Philippines have long been known as the engine of the country's economy. We have seen San Miguel Corporation, Ayala Corporation, SM Investments, and several major banks such as BDO and Metro Bank play a key role in development. These have all become beneficiaries of their work. They are now amongst the world's largest corporations. With them, their CEOs, chairmen, and founders have become billionaires. Their investments have not only touched domestic borders, but companies like San Miguel Corporation to Jollibee Food Corporation are now huge asset holders globally. Jollibee, for instance, is loved all across the world and has been regarded as one of Asia's fastest-growing fast food companies. But let's be real here. Philippine companies, despite their actual size of billions, aren't actually that big compared to global companies. Jollibee is still far overshadowed by KFC, McDonald's, and other fast food chains. BDO and Metro Bank are mere small local banking giants, and in the face of American or European companies, they are small. To show you just how small, or at the very least, large Philippine companies are compared to other global businesses, let's discuss and compare some of the Philippines' largest companies to global and regional competitors. Let's first start with the Philippines' largest business, SM Investments. SM Investments is known for their malls. They have established gigantic malls, some of which are amongst the world's largest. According to its latest investor presentation published in March of 2024, they have about 3,686 retail outlets, 85 malls, and 2,368 bank branches. Wait, bank branches? Why does SM Investments have bank branches? Well, in case you've never heard of it yet, SM Investments is not just a mall operator. They hold shares and equities in BDO, the Philippines' largest bank, to China Bank, SM Prime, SM Retail, and a huge load of other assets. Now, the most important factor to understand about SM Investments is its market valuation. Market valuation is important as it lets us know how valuable SM Investment is. So, for instance, if an investor were to buy SM Investments, how much would it be? Well, this price is determined in the Philippine Stock Exchange. According to the latest data, as of the time of writing, SM Investments is worth over 21.6 billion US dollars. This makes it definitely one of the world's largest companies. Its revenues, which are the company's total sales, is over $10.2 billion, of which $1.3 billion are its net income. The third metric are assets, which are what the companies own. These can be its buildings, companies and investments, or even cash, and they total about $28.6 billion. Yes, SM Investments are indeed big, but in reality, it's not really that big compared to other regional counterparts. Just take a look at Indonesia's largest company, Bank Central Asia, which has a market valuation of over $80 billion. Bank Rakyat Indonesia, the country's second largest by market value, is at $57 billion. Malaysia, on the other hand, stands similar to SM Investments. Maybank, the country's largest company by market valuation, is at $25.5 billion. Maybank's revenue stands at $5.7 billion, which is actually lower than SM Investments' $10.2 billion. Their assets, however, far exceed SM Investments, which stands at $213 billion. That's only because it's a bank. BDO, which is the Philippines' largest bank, has total assets of over $80 billion. Now, let's not only talk about SM Investments, let's talk about Jollibee Foods Corporation, a famous company not only in the Philippines but globally. JFC for short has stores in the US, Europe, and across Asia. JFC also owns other major brands such as Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, Smashburgers, and 18 other brands. According to Jollibee's official company report, they have about 6,800 stores all across the world. McDonald's, however, has over 33,000 stores. KFC, on the other hand, numbers 29,900. The companies that are near to that of JFC is Wendy's, which has 7,095. Taco Bell has 8,564 restaurants. Now let's see their revenues, assets, and valuation. Jollibee has a value of just $5.2 billion, with revenues of about $4.3 billion and assets worth $4.6 billion. McDonald's alone is valued at over $201 billion. Yum Brands, which owns companies like KFC, is valued at $38 billion. Jollibee, however, is larger than companies like Papa John's Pizza, which has a value of $2.2 billion. Shake Shack, with a value of $4.3 billion, Wendy's, which has $3.7 billion, and Super High International from Singapore with $850 million. Let's look at our third company, Emperador Brandy, an alcoholic brand. The reason we chose this is because, according to the company's marketcap.com, it is the 28th largest alcoholic beverage company in the entire world. With a market valuation of $4.7 billion, it has revenues of $1.1 billion and assets of $2.49 billion. My market value is larger than Japan's famous Sapporo brand. The fourth company to look at is Petron Corporation. Now, Petron Corporation is the Philippines' famous oil and gas company. It has refinery projects across the country, a vast amount of retail network, and even has investments in countries like Malaysia. Now, by valuation, Petron isn't a big company. It's only worth $500 million. In the oil and gas industry, there are companies far larger in market valuation than Petron. Thailand's PTT PCL is valued at $27.6 billion. Indonesia's Chandra Asri Petrochemicals is worth $28.5 billion. Even Malaysia's Petronas Gas is worth $7.4 billion. What makes Petron stand out, however, is its sales. It has revenues of over $15.3 billion, which is, in fact, $5 billion more than SM Investments. It also has assets over $8 billion. Malaysia's Petronas Gas has revenues of only $1.4 billion, and Indonesia's Chandra Asri Petrochemicals has revenues of $2.1 billion. Now, you're probably wondering why this has been the case. Why is Petron, a company with an extensive number of operations as reflected by its sales worth, so much less than these companies? Well, that's because revenues don't tell the entire story. A company is valued by its profitability, how much it makes from its sales, to its future potential. It is also valued by the assets it holds. These are valued not by the company or even the government, but by the market and investors. Investors are just not seeing value in Petron Corporation to justify a higher stock price. Maybe the company is just not worth $1 billion, or maybe there are factors that we may not even see, factors such as the government, the country's oil and gas reserves, and so much more. Lastly, let's discuss PAL Holdings, which is the company that owns Philippine Airlines. PAL Holdings has a market value of just $1.1 billion, revenues of about $2.4 billion, and assets worth $4.14 billion. Not really that big in the airline industry. Just take a look at Singapore Airlines, which has a market valuation of over $14 billion. But Philippine Airlines by valuation is larger than Thailand's Bangkok Airways, South Korea's Asiana Airlines, India's SpiceJet, and Malaysia's Capital A, which owns AirAsia. So, just how big are Philippine companies? Well, in the face of global competition, they are small. However, as we have seen throughout the video, Philippine companies are in some ways larger than some regional peers. The best benchmark, at the very least, is regionally. Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia are close to the Philippines in economic performance, albeit some have already drifted past the country. And furthermore, you should also know that there are companies that can be worth so much more, but are not valued properly, such as Petron Corporation. There are also companies that are not listed in the Philippine Stock Exchange, yet they may also be amongst Philippines' largest companies, but we just don't know how big they are due to their presence being unlisted. One example that has recently emerged to become a winner is Mint. Now, Mint is the parent company of Gcash. It was valued at over $2 billion in 2021, making it the first and only double unicorn in the Philippines. However, that was already a few years ago. What would the value of the company be today if it was checked? Gcash, after all, has grown massively. It has facilitated the change that the Philippines needed, one from a cash-based society to a cashless society. The average number of registered Gcash users in the Philippines as of 2022 is over 76 million people. For just the first half of 2022, they had a gross transaction value surpassing 3 trillion Philippine pesos. If Gcash was a listed company and it was valued today, it would likely be higher than $2 billion. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.